They descended from heaven not to bring salvation, but desire. Before the flood, before Noah, before judgment fell upon the earth, there was a moment, almost hidden in the sacred text, that changed everything. A single, haunting verse. In Genesis 6:1-2 says, "When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose." This moment is not just a historical footnote. It is the beginning of a forbidden union, one that would spark divine wrath and ultimately bring about the greatest cataclysm in the early history of mankind. These sons of God, known in Hebrew as Bene Elohim, did not just admire humanity. From afar, they crossed boundaries. They came down. But who were they? According to some of the oldest Jewish and early Christian traditions, the sons of God were not men. They were celestial beings, watchers, angels tasked with observing humanity. But somewhere along the line, something changed. Curiosity turned to desire, and desire turned to rebellion. The Book of Enoch expands on this moment with terrifying clarity. It tells of 200 angels who descended upon Mount Hermon. They formed a pact and oath to take human women as wives. They knew it was forbidden. They knew it was a betrayal of divine order. But they came anyway. They came not as messengers of God, but as traitors of heaven. Their union with the daughters of men gave birth to the Nephilim beings, unlike anything else in creation. They were giants, yes, but they were more than that. They were hybrids, part divine, part mortal, strong, intelligent, dominating. They devoured the earth and defied the order of heaven. The ancient Hebrew root of Nephilim is NPL, meaning to fall. Many believe the name itself means the fallen ones. This isn't just about physical fall. It's spiritual, moral, cosmic. The Nephilim were not merely mistakes, they were violations. Proof that heaven's boundaries had been broken. The Watchers had done more than just take wives. They brought knowledge, forbidden knowledge. They taught humanity the secrets of heaven, sorcery, astrology, metallurgy, warfare. They gave tools of power that humanity was never meant to wield. Imagine a world where celestial beings walk the earth, giants rule with brutal strength, and secret knowledge poisons the hearts of men. This was the world before the flood. It wasn't just human wickedness that brought judgment. It was corruption of the created order. God did not just wipe away sin. He cleansed the earth of what had become unnatural. So why does Genesis mention this in just a few short verses? Perhaps because the truth is too dark to fully reveal. Perhaps because the details were passed down in whispers in texts like Enoch, Jubilees, and other ancient scrolls, long hidden or suppressed. The early church fathers, Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, Tertullian, they took these accounts seriously. To them, the union of angels and humans was a dangerous, real event. But over the centuries, theologians grew uncomfortable with such ideas. The supernatural was tamed, angels were softened, giants became metaphors, but the texts remain. The evidence endures. This was not a love story. This was a transgression. This was a first great rebellion, not by man, but by angels who abandoned their posts, who looked down upon humanity and chose lust over loyalty, who created children that brought terror instead of life, and the earth would never be the same again. What if they didn't all drown? The flood was supposed to end it all. Genesis 6:17 is crystal clear. I am going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens. Every creature that has the breath of life in it. A global reset, a divine purge. Yet mysteriously after the waters recede, the Nephilim reappeared. How? In Numbers 13:33, the Israelite spies returned from Canaan with terrifying news. We saw the Nephilim there. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. Wait, the Nephilim, after the flood. This isn't a metaphor. This isn't exaggeration. The spies were warriors and they were terrified. They described not just tall men, but beings so massive, so powerful, that human comparison failed. So we must ask the unthinkable. Did the Nephilim survive the flood? Or did their bloodline survive through other means? Some scholars suggest that fallen angels once again descended after the flood, but the Book of Enoch tells a different story. After their rebellion, the Watchers were bound and cast into the abyss, awaiting judgment. They couldn't return. That leaves one chilling possibility. The Nephilim bloodline survived through the ark itself. Let's consider this carefully. Genesis 6-9 describes Noah as blameless in his generation. Many interpret this as moral righteousness, but others, especially ancient Jewish interpreters, suggest it also implies genetic purity, that Noah's line had not been corrupted by angelic DNA. But what about his sons' wives? The Bible is silent on their lineage. We are never told where they came from, who they were, or what blood flowed through their veins. It's an eerie omission. Could it be that one or more of them carried the blood of the Nephilim? A trace of the forbidden union that slipped through the flood and took root once again? If so, then the ancient terror wasn't erased, it was preserved. And indeed, after the flood, strange beings reappear. The Rephaim, Anakim, Imim, and Zamzumim, entire tribes of giants mentioned in Deuteronomy, Numbers, Joshua. They are described as having tremendous size and power. King Og of Bashan, for example, is said to sleep in a bed over 13 feet long. The Bible doesn't present these as myths. It treats them as historical threats, enemies of Israel that needed to be confronted and defeated. So real were they that the very presence of these giant tribes caused panic and fear among the Israelites. But the true terror is not just their size, it's their origin. These were not simply large men, they were echoes of something older, something deeper, something unholy. Ancient texts suggest the spirits of the Nephilim did not perish with their bodies. They became the wandering spirits of the earth, disembodied entities that would later be known as demons. The Book of Enoch states that after the bodies of the giants died in the flood, their spirits remained. They had no place in heaven or in hell. They became cursed, hungry, and malevolent. And so we come to a darker possibility. What if the bloodlines survived in flesh, and the spirits survived in shadow? What if the giants we see after the flood were more than just tall warriors? What if they were vessels, extensions of ancient wickedness reborn? And what if their legacy never truly ended? In Genesis 10, we are introduced to Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. Some believe he was simply a powerful king. Others suspect more. The Septuagint refers to him as a giant before the Lord. Nimrod is linked to the construction of Babel, the first attempt at global domination, a unified rebellion against God. Is it coincidence that Babel was built so soon after the flood? That a mighty one rose so quickly from the ashes? Perhaps not. Perhaps he was not just a king but a king of Nephilim descent. This is the forbidden bloodline. It did not end with the flood. It hid, it adapted, it whispered in the halls of ancient kingdoms, in the blood of tyrants, in the bones of nations that rose and fell, and in every echo of rebellion against heaven, we may still hear it. What if the forbidden union never stopped? The Book of Enoch ends with a chilling vision. 200 rebellious angels, the Watchers, bound in darkness, cast into the abyss, awaiting final judgment. Their leader, Azazel, is buried in the desert, under sharp rocks, shamed and silenced. But their legacy, that is not buried. The ancient world remembers them not as myth, but as memory. Across cultures, we find echoes of the same story. Divine beings descending, taking human wives, fathering hybrid children with powers beyond understanding. Teaching forbidden knowledge meant sorcery, war, enchantments, in Mesopotamia, the Apkallu, in Greece, the Titans, in Egypt, the gods who ruled before pharaohs. The pattern is too consistent to ignore. The Watchers weren't just a strange footnote in a forgotten book. They were part of a global trauma and incursion from the spiritual realm into human history that left scars we still haven't healed from, and those scars may be bleeding still. Let's return to the Book of Enoch. It says that after the Nephilim were destroyed in the flood, their spirits remained on earth. These spirits became the demons roaming the world, seeking bodies to possess, tormenting the living. They are described as hungry, thirsty, restless, hostile toward humans because their physical form was taken from them. This is the origin story of evil spirits, not fallen angels themselves, but the disembodied souls of their hybrid children. But if that's true, then the spiritual war we read about in the New Testament, the possessions, the exorcisms, the demonic activity wasn't just random. It was part of a much older crisis. Now, let's ask the final, dangerous question. Is the forbidden union still happening today? Scripture warns us in Matthew 24:37, as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. What were the days of Noah like? Genesis 6 tells us plainly, the sons of God took the daughters of men. The Nephilim were on the earth. Violence and corruption filled the world. God's Spirit would no longer strive with man, and Jesus said those days would come again. Not symbolically, not metaphorically, literally. Some believe that the Watchers' chains have loosened, that demonic entities are once again influencing mankind, perhaps not through direct unions, but through technology, ideology, and genetic manipulation. Look around. The obsession with human enhancement, the merging of biology with machines, the erasure of natural boundaries between man and woman, flesh and metal, spirit and code. It's the same sin in a new costume, a new forbidden knowledge, a new Tower of Babel, a new rebellion against God's created order. But make no mistake, the spirit behind it is ancient. In the Book of Revelation, we're told of a final conflict. The abyss will open. Entities long forgotten will rise again. The kings of the earth will unite against the Lamb. And Babylon, the great prostitute who rides the beast, will fall. This is the end of the Watcher's story. Not with silence, but with fire. The forbidden union was never just about the past. It's about the blood in our veins, the battle in our souls, and the decisions we make when no one is watching. We were warned.